Normal is something that we all want to fall into. We find that we want to wear certain types of clothes to fit in and look normal. We find ourselves acting certain ways or doing certain things so that others think we're normal. Some of us will take on the attitudes and thinking of those around us so that we seem normal, or rather, we do this to fit in. Let's admit it. Most of us want to be considered normal because we don't want to be perceived by others as weird or be made fun of. What I'm going to share today isn't going to tell you to jump in the middle of traffic and scream at the top of your lungs or randomly go hug strangers in public, but I do want to address some common misconceptions about what being normal really means. So I'll first start out with this. I never want to be normal. I will say that one more time. I never want to be normal. I never want to conform to everyone else and be just like everyone else so I lose my uniqueness. I'm not afraid to embarrass myself in public. I'm not afraid to say something to my kids or point out their success or flaunt that unique outfit, even if it makes me seem different. And I know not all of us can say the same thing. I like to think my quirkiness has found its place, and I know the times and places where it's okay to be different. I think it all starts with the idea that most people believe that normal, or just like everybody else, is good. When you look up the word normal in the dictionary, it says this: conforming with, adhering to, or constituting a norm, standard, pattern, level, or type. Typical. How many of us believe that fitting in is what we should do? While it's important that we act within the rules of society, what happens when society says that doing something that isn't appropriate violates your morals? What if they say that that's normal? Do you go along with everybody who's doing the things that you think are wrong? Or do you stand up for what you feel is right? There's times in our lives when normal just doesn't cut it. I heard it said by someone recently that there are different definitions of what normal is, depending on what you believe, how you live your life. There's also been quite a bit of change to what we can probably say normal is. Lots of people strive to be whatever that is, or what they think it is. Lots of people think being normal is the goal. They wear what's normal, say what's normal, do what's normal. If others think they're normal, then they've got it made. Many people believe that being normal will get them where they need to go in life. They believe just by doing what society defines as normal, they'll be rich, successful, and have a great life. And while you might get a lot of these things by following society's path, you'll never discover true riches, true happiness, true success if you're not open to God's leading and sometimes, to be honest, out of the box thinking. Let's be real. Normal isn't really the goal, or at least it shouldn't be. You see, you'll never really find happiness or fulfillment in being just like everyone else. Some of you out there listening may have heard of the name Brené Brown. She is a renowned author and research professor at the University of Houston in the Department of Social Work. And in an interview last fall with CBS about a new book she was releasing, she talked about an important topic: belonging versus fitting in. She defines fitting in as an impulse of insecurity motivated by fear, while belonging is about being at the center of God's love. As part of the interview, she said the following, and I quote, "We are connected in a profound way, and what moves us away from each other is fear. The biggest barrier to belonging is trying to fit in. In trying to fit in, we assess the situation and then assimilate. Belonging, on the other hand, is about bringing your whole, true, authentic self to the situation. Real belonging requires we be ourselves." How many of you have heard the acronym FOMO, fear of missing out? It's almost too overused at this point, in my opinion. It's become a verb used to sometimes even make people feel guilty for not trying to fit in with what society defines as normal. See, fear and fitting in seem to be best friends because they construct a common identity, and that identity is around division, insecurity, and anxiety. When I was in high school, jean jackets and Air Force Ones were the big thing. I guess you could call them the fashion rite of passage, the trend of the time. Every guy had them, and if you didn't, you were called out for what you wore, even if what you wore was more expensive than the ones that were in fashion. You can bet that's all I wanted for birthdays and Christmas, so I'd fit in fashion wise with the other kids. So I had my jean jacket and I got my fancy shoes, but not the same ones everyone else had. They were what we could afford at the time. And of course, people noticed and people commented. And as a middle and high school student, it wasn't just about fitting in, it was about power and hierarchy and ambition and being part of the in crowd. If we didn't have what was in fashion, some of us quickly learned that the art of blame shifting we needed to sustain our place was part of that fitting in hierarchy of school. And while I know it isn't about fashion and it's much bigger than fitting in during middle school and high school, it really does start us on a perpetual treadmill of wanting to fit in, essentially teaching us how insecurity and anxiety feel. Because once we figure out how to get the $300 Nikes, you quickly learn that we need certain shirts to go with them, and then the new backpack, and then the certain kind of car to drive, and then the certain house, and all those things as we get older. For many of us, this also leads into relationships. As we move on from people we've had incredible relationships with, just because other people don't like them, or they're not pretty enough, or not popular enough. And I know this all sounds pretty harsh, but it is the reality of our society's definition of what normal is. All these things exist in adulthood, just with different circumstances. Ambition and envy breed insecurity, which is exactly what Brene Brown showed in the research in her book. For so long, I succumbed to the curse of being just powerful enough to believe I could get inside the inner circle, inside the corral. I saw the envy and ambition surface when I went to conferences or meetings or breakout sessions, even with people in religious settings. I'd scan the room trying to figure out who the people were who knew how things worked and who could, get me through, and assess how I could follow them into that inner circle. And you see, that's the wrong approach to take. Sure, sometimes we ride people's coattails, and sometimes knowing people helps us get places. But you see, the problem is, sometimes we rely on that with everything. Our friendships, the things that we own. God gave us all a calling and an individuality. Even if we're a twin or a triplet, we have individual characteristics about us that no one else has. When we look for wisdom and guidance from above about how to operate, we not only cherish our individuality, we live out our heavenly calling and then find our place to run our race, even if it isn't with the people we think we should fit in with. The irony of the fitting in life is the fear that it's impossible to get to the center of the ring. You see, when you belong to God, you're always right in the middle, right at the center, right at the bullseye. This issue's a real one. The sad truth is that we mistakenly believe if we find a person who completely understands us, that we'll fill that longing and will automatically fit in. And for some of us, a lot of us, that person isn't taking us into a group or a lifestyle with godly intentions. So while not wanting to force ourselves into the lifestyles of those around us is sometimes hard, I want to give you 3 principles to think about when trying to fit in with those around us. And while I share these, I realize every one of us wants to be loved and accepted. None of us likes to be rejected. But also remember, we were born to stand out. We've all been set apart for God's calling on our lives. Sometimes that involves us stepping away from the influences, temptations, standards, and pressures of the world around us. So 3 things to think about when trying to fit in. First, own the fact that we aren't like anyone else. For some of us, that may be more extreme than others. Perhaps we are short or tall, or have crooked ears or thick glasses, or tell jokes that aren't funny, or like movies that aren't popular with today's culture. This is one place I embrace the most. One of the hardest things to accept is that we are different from everyone else, which means there's nothing wrong or weird about us at all. I'm unique. I don't think or act like anyone else. Why? I might live in this world, but I am not of this world. When we choose the world, it might seem like we're getting so much, but in fact, we are giving up so much more. When we ignore or refuse to acknowledge the fact that we're unique, it automatically makes us want to fit in with somebody else's mold, and that's dangerous on so many levels. When we strive to become the person the world says we need to be, we put on blinders and take ourselves so far from who we truly are. Maybe we do it because we truly want to fit in, but maybe we do it because we're embarrassed by something, or many somethings about ourselves. Look, I'm tall, pretty much have no hair, tell really awful quality jokes, don't have too many close friends, my ears are crooked, my eyes have all three colors in them. But you know what? I'm special in God's eyes. When I was younger, I was often made fun of because I didn't fit the mold of the popular kid in school. I didn't always dress like them. I didn't go out and party with them on the weekends. I didn't want to be like the other kids. My favorite movies are slapstick comedies. I'm obsessed with musical theater. I'm a Star Trek fan, and I don't like French fries dipped in a Frosty. Okay, that one maybe was a stretch, but I embraced who I was then, and I embrace who I am now, and I love being myself. So stop apologizing and stop being ashamed of being different than the world. Stop being afraid to let Christ shine through you because your friends might think differently of you. Maybe it's because you need new friends. But anyways, be authentically you and don't apologize for it. The world needs more God-fearing, uncompromising people who are embracing who God called them to be and are doing the right things. Okay, I'll get down off my soapbox now. Number 2, tune out the voices that are trying to make you something you're not. The world dislikes and will turn away from those who are different than itself, and it hates those that have the courage to live godly because we threaten evil and hatred when we let our light shine. As a Christian, I've been made fun of for my faith. I've been questioned when people don't understand or when they feel they have something better. People who believe differently than you will question, will try to sway you, and will try to pull you to something you're not. Even people who you may consider close friends will talk about you and criticize you. People will try to give you advice about your life. Be ready to be tempted to change who you are. When that happens, tune out the voices that are trying to make you something that you're not. I remember hearing a powerful phrase one time. I don't know who said it, but it went something like this. Stop being influenced and start influencing. The opinions and approval of others don't validate you, and they certainly won't sustain you. So listen to the right voices. Choose to hang out with people who celebrate you. And third and finally, don't be a sellout. Don't compromise your convictions or character just because somebody else offers you to be a part of the in crowd. Alexander Hamilton once said, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. How true is that? Don't sell out on your morals and values just to make friends. Choose to be an example for others even when it gets hard. You never know who might be going through something hard and sees your example, or who might be looking up to you and inspired by your choices and actions. And if you have the right people around you, you'll never be lonely when you make those choices. So, FOMO, Nikes, selling out, tuning out, owning it. We've talked about all of it today. I want to go back to Brene Brown's statement I shared at the beginning. The biggest barrier to belonging is trying to fit in. So, do you want to belong or do you want to fit in? Trust me when I say that life with God is a fun adventure, and God calls us to greater things than just fitting in and being like everyone else. Lots of people have tried normal, including myself, and trust me, normal isn't working, and it really isn't any fun. As a Christian, you might be called upon to stand up for what you believe in. By doing that, you won't be doing what others think is normal. We have every opportunity to come out of the life where we're just another number and just like everyone else. More than just doing the 9-to-5 job, eating, sleeping. We have the chance to embrace our uniqueness and gifts given to us to make a difference in the world. We can choose to put normal aside and live out what the Bible says. We can live a life full of adventure and in turn, make a difference in not only your own life, but the lives of all of those around you. Imagine how incredible things could be if we'd stop fantasizing about great things we could be if we kept up with the Joneses and started actively building a God-led life for ourselves. So today, I'll ask this question. Why be normal when you can be so much more? I'm Brian, and I'm proud to be who I am. A child of God made in His image and given unique qualities and talents that allow me to live out His purpose for my life and win others to the cause of Christ. Today, I pray you will choose to do the same. That's all for this week's Q on Q. As always, I really do appreciate you taking time to listen. We'll see you back here next time when we'll have more for you on Q.